Hey, all right, all right. Welcome back. You watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. I am at the beautiful Kimberly Hotel at the Bistango Restaurante in Midtown Manhattan. The Big Apple is quite nice today. It's a beautiful fall day. There is some signs of life going on, and there was some signs of life last night at the vice presidential debate. Two vice presidential candidates slugged it out just a little bit, of course. But I think Mike Pence may have got the better of her. I'm going to be on Newsmax TV this Saturday with my good buddy Tom Basile talking about Joe Biden's economic policies. And Mike Pence hit Kamala pretty hard last night on some of Joe Biden's economic policies. Take a look at this.
We've spared no expense to help the American people and the American worker through this. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to raise taxes. They want to bury our economy under a $2 trillion Green New Deal, which you were one of the original co-sponsors of in the United States Senate. They want to abolish fossil fuels and ban fracking, which would cost hundreds of thousands of American jobs all across the heartland. And Joe Biden wants to go back to the economic surrender to China, that when we took office, half of our international trade deficit was with China alone. And Joe Biden wants to repeal all of the tariffs that President Trump put into effect to fight for American jobs and American workers. Joe Biden says democracy's on the ballot. Make no mistake about it, Susan. The American economy, the American comeback is on the ballot with 4 more years of growth and opportunity, 4 more years of President Donald Trump. 2021 is going to be the biggest economic year in the history of this country.
Thank you, Vice President.
I think Mike Pence said what I've been saying for quite some time, that you can narrow this whole thing down to all these other things, the Green New Deal, climate change, higher taxes, blah, 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 blah. But people vote with their pocketbook. And we were in the middle of one of the greatest times of economic growth in America in history, not in the last 20 years or in the last few decades, in history. And that was all derailed, of course, by the coronavirus. And now it's actually back on the way. I mean, job gains in the millions every couple of weeks now. Unemployment numbers, again, they're starting to tank and get back to where they were. So I think many people will take a look at their portfolios. They'll take a look at their 401k. They'll take a look at their IRA and say, hey, who was doing good for me for 3 years? And who's telling me right now they're going to raise my taxes by 70%? Small businesses can expect to go from a 21% corporate tax to a 35% corporate tax. That's a 70% tax increase for 28 million businesses in America. And by the way, 80% of the employees of America work for companies that are deemed small businesses, under 100 million in revenue. So 28 million companies out there can see a 70% increase in their corporate taxes. They'll also bring back the payroll tax, which is another 7% in every employee's pocket. So this Joe Biden economic plan is certainly scary for our economy and for voters as they look at how much Joe wants to take out of their pocket. Now, scary is former presidential candidate, senator from, former presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard had some choice words for Kamala Harris, and she laid into her hard. Take a look at this.
To the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of
significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you were in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Does Kamala Harris owe many California criminals an apology? I'd say yes. And I was listening to my good buddy Rich Valdez this morning on WABC Radio simulcast on WLIR. And my buddy Frank Morano is over at WABC. And Rich was filling in for him today, I think, on the WLIR show. But I heard Rich talking about how advances in the minority communities have really resonated with many people of color. Black people, brown people, all different people have really done really well in the Trump administration. New housing starts for minority, all-time high. Small business ownership start initiations in the minority community, the highest of all time. Minority unemployment, the lowest of all time. And you know what? Trump said something I thought really smart the last time he ran for president when he said, hey, if you're in the minority communities, all the Democrats do is come around every 4 years looking for your vote, okay? And look at how all these blue cities are. The top 40 rattiest cities in America, according to Orkin, the pest control company, are run by mayors who are Democrat progressives. And Donald Trump said, hey, what do you have to lose? Just give me a shot. Give me one shot. And I think when they look at the scoreboard in many of those minority communities, they're looking at business starts, new home ownership, unemployment, wages increasing, and saying, wait a minute, we won with this guy. And will have you believe that Joe Biden's just going to get every single black vote and every single Latino vote because they're Democrats. And it's just not true. So I think there is a silent majority, and then there's another group out there that is being expected to vote wholeheartedly for Joe Biden. I think a lot of them stay home, or they're going to vote for Donald Trump, and that would be a huge avalanche. An avalanche of information comes your way right after this when I'm joined by John Burnett and Josh Kravitz, Democrat, Republican. We mix it up just for you. Have a cold one, liquid lunch, back in a few.